Okay, welcome back. So now we have our outline, and it's looking good. Very, very monster-y. So we are probably not going to use our sketch anymore. That's just a reference. We can keep it if we need to, but either way we're going to leave both of those layers locked from now on. Creating a new layer, we're going to create our lights and darks, but right now we're going to focus on our darks. And the important thing is to put the dark and light later underneath the outline layer, but above your sketch. Reason for this being is that you want the darkness to stay beneath your black lines. You don't want to draw over them. Now we're going to take our brush and take the opacity down to about 20% again, and make sure that the brush is a little bit bigger, a little bit wider this time, because we're going to be taking bigger strokes. And don't be afraid to get a little messy. Just kind of have at it, go around the corners. One thing I would suggest, though, is when you're in this mode and you have the opacity turned down to 20, whenever you lay your brush down, or your stylus, I should say, try and keep your pen down the whole time and try and get one solid block of shading, at least for your first layer, because if you keep going over and over and stroking at it, then you'll see those strokes overlaying each other in the different opacities, and it can get a little bit chunky, changing the texture of whatever it is you're drawing. And if you are drawing something with a heavier texture, or a scaly, or even maybe something like a tree with bark, then you might want more strokes in there. But since I'm going for somewhat of a skin tone and texture, that's what I suggest, is laying down just a single big block like this. Not long after you're getting close to wrapping up that big solid block of shading, though, is when you can start going in and adding your darker tones. This is where the opacity plays a very big role, is because you're able to get realistic multiple tones of shading instead of just blocks of color. But just need to wrap up this solid. And another thing too for brushes is that I use, personally anyway, a scratchier brush, because this will actually give you more texture while you're going. Any kind of brush that has a softer edge to it with different defined strokes in it is awesome. This can be seen in a CS4 and 5. 5 now has angle detection for Intuos tablets and lots of crazy cool stuff. But anyway, as you can see here, now I'm adding the second layer with the same opacity of brush, and it's giving it a little bit of a darker tone. This is when you just keep going inside, you just keep going in further and further to get all of those darks and really pull them out. And we're just going to keep going at this process for a little bit until we get the complete darkness that we're looking for in our dark tones. Alright, now that we have all of our darks taken care of, we're going to make all of the lights. Again, you have to make sure that this layer is beneath the outline but above your sketch. And it's also important that your lights stay above your darks, because what we're going to do is lay on top of them and smooth out some of the strokes that we have beneath. Now select white under your color palette. Make sure your brush still has a 20% opacity. Make sure it's still pretty wide. Then we're going to make broad strokes and kind of go over our lighter areas again. And what this should do is kind of smooth things out a little bit, so you can go over brows, the top of the head, any area that is showing highlights. And in a lot of cases when you do this, What you'll want to do after is group your lights and darks together and actually merge the layers, because then that way you won't get any strange layering or overlaying later on when we get to colors. However, for this piece, I was looking for somewhat of a unique texture, and if you are looking for texture or any strange overlaying effects from different layers, then it's good to have all of your layers separated. You never really want to merge them. You want to keep them separate so that you have more opportunity to add different effects later on. So as you can see, everything's lightening up, going for the teeth, got the cheekbone more pronounced, the eye is a little bit more prominent, and trying to get more expression here on the outer part of the jaw. We'll go in, just get any final touches. And you really don't need to spend too much time on the white. Most of the time spent is on the black, as you can see. So yeah, so now we're at this good point here. This is pretty good shading. It's chunky, but not too chunky, and we have a pretty even lighting, and it's good to go, at least for the next step.